is whether humanity has earned the right to exist. Throughout history, greed for personal gain and constant struggle for power have proven responsible for catastrophic destruction and ruthless oppression. Despite few exceptions that highlight the merits of mankind, humanity has not earned the right to exist.
Through this statement in his book The Prince, Machiavelli describes man as cowardly, disloyal, and completely greedy and ungrateful. He exclaims that a man would forgive a person who killed his father quicker than one who took his land or inheritance. This demonstrates Machiavelli's view of humanity as both destructive and selfish. One of the strongest pessimistic opinions on human nature was expressed by Thomas Hobbes during the Enlightenment. He believed that humans were naturally selfish and power-hungry and that they needed a government that could protect the people from others. This would be seen throughout history in the constant class and national struggle.
In your opinion, what are the greatest flaws of humanity?
I think there are a few flaws that we see over and over throughout history and literature and current events, and probably one of the biggest ones is ego, and that people forget to be self-sacrificing and often are too worried about themselves, and then that leads to a lot of downfall. So I guess just ego would be the biggest one that I see.
All right, based on those flaws, do you think humanity has earned the right to exist?
If we only looked at the one side, if we looked solely at ego, then we could easily make the judgment that there is no right to live because of all the atrocities that come out of it. But with everything that's bad, we have good. And so it wouldn't be fair to say we don't have the right to live because there are so many good people in the world, and we have to remember that when making this judgment.
When Robespierre was elected into the National Convention, he used revolutionary terror to create a republic of virtue. This led him to establish the Reign of Terror, in which all classes of people were suspect to execution. During the Reign of Terror, as many as 40,000 people were executed by the guillotine. In 1487, Ferdinand and Isabella established the Spanish Inquisition, in which Jews, Muslims, and converts were punished. As Spaniards felt that their safety was threatened, the Inquisition became harsher by using the death penalty. In 1838, Andrew Jackson established the Indian removal policy, in which Native Americans such as the Cherokee Nation were forced to give up their lands and migrate to an area in present-day Oklahoma. This journey was called the Trail of Tears because of the hardships the Indians faced, such as hunger, disease, and exhaustion.
I think people don't care about themselves because they smoke in front of other people and they don't care about the other people's feelings.
As European countries started to imperialize Africa, they caused the spread of smallpox, increase in famine, loss of African traditional culture, and the creation of territorial boundaries, which has divided tribal groups and still cause problems today.
Another example of ethnic destruction and oppression is the Armenian genocide, in which over 600,000 Armenians died of starvation or were murdered by Turkish soldiers in response to the support for the Allies in World War I. After the fall of communism, Serbian paramilitaries murdered more than 8,000 Bosnian Muslims for reasons of ethnic cleansing.
I think people can be selfish because their parents they watch their parents and they can learn from them, and sometimes parents can be selfish by spoiling them. So yes.
Cause for war is money. And when you have a lot of money, you have power, and power will bring you fame.
Thank you. The Soviet Union totalitarian dictator Joseph Stalin initiated strict social controls like censorship and the secret police to ensure obedience to the communist government. Great purges were inflicted to eliminate all dissidents to the USSR, disregarding all natural human rights.
So, Mr. Aladdin, would you like to introduce yourself?
If I have to. Hello, I am General Admiral Aladdin, dictator of the Republic of Wadiya.
What are your thoughts on human rights?
None at all. They are not worth my consideration. Selfish humans love to be oppressed.
Do you ever plan to institute democracy?
Yes. As of right now, we are planning free elections. But the candidates are just myself. I plan on keeping all of my palace possessions. If you know what I mean.
Why do you execute so many people?
Because it's wonderful. It's one of the beautiful things of life. It's wonderful to have all these people follow you and admire your every move.
Are you aware of the growing resistance movement to your regime?
Oh yes, but they are not against me. Those people love me. They are just confused. They do not know they love me yet.
Thank you, Mr. Aladdin.
Have an absolute Aladdin day.
The Nazi Party dictator Adolf Hitler justified his oppression of Jews, the disabled, homosexuals, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Gypsies with his belief in the superiority of the Aryan race. In Germany's ascension to European authority, Hitler, in his personal pursuit of power, had no care for the weak nations left in the path of destruction. Over 6 million Jewish people living in Germany and Poland were murdered in concentration and extermination camps, such as in Krakow and Auschwitz. The Nazi brutality, in the form of SS troopers, grew from anti-Semitism and Hitler's political ideas. The prominent and vicious Colombian drug lord Pablo Escobar was known for either bribing or killing off officials that got in the way of his valuable drug trade. He was allegedly involved in the assassination of a presidential candidate and often ordered the executions of his enemies along with their families, resulting in death tolls in the higher hundreds and possibly thousands. Globalization, or the increasing interconnectedness of our world through technology, has caused America to outsource jobs to third world countries for cheap labor and therefore exploit the impoverished populations.
Precipitating the growth of slavery in America, the Dred Scott decision ruled that people of African descent were not protected by the Constitution and could never be citizens of the United States.
With respect, Master Wayne, perhaps this is a man you don't fully understand either. A long time ago, I was in Burma. My friends and I were working for the local government. They were trying to buy the loyalty of tribal leaders by bribing them with precious stones. But their caravans were being raided in a forest north of Rangoon by a bandit. So we went looking for the stones. But in 6 months, we never met anyone who traded with him. One day, I saw a child playing with a ruby the size of a tangerine. The bandit had been throwing them away.
So why steal them?
Well, because he thought it was good sport, because some men aren't looking for anything logical, like money. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
In World War I, the use of trench warfare along with new military technologies resulted in a stalemate on the Western Front, causing a more destructive war effort on both sides. An entire generation was lost as 23 million soldiers and civilians gave their lives to the cause of the European struggle for power. Hemingway, part of the Lost Generation movement after the destructive World War I, explains the egotistical desire for humans to have power over others through murderous war.
In World War II, as fascism started to spread, countries became more selfish of occupying new lands. This led to the bombing of innocent civilians in an effort to demoralize the enemy, along with the atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
After recounting the many sayings on the history of mankind, we must mention the heroic actions of exceptions such as the romantic Lord Byron, who gave his life for the cause of Greek independence from the Ottoman Empire, Mahatma Gandhi, who organized the non-violent Indian nationalism movement against the imperialist British, and Martin Luther King, the leader of the civil rights movement in America. However, through greed for personal power and the resulting violations against human rights and major conflicts, humanity has ceased to earn the right to exist.
Humanity, auf Wiedersehen, it's time to say goodbye. The party's over as the laughter dies, an angel cries. Humanity, it's au revoir to your insanity. You sold your soul to feed your vanity, your fantasies and lies.
Michael Mead, what do you think about the pitfalls of humanity?